How in the world did this book go from being my least favorite of the Crowns of Naxia series by Carissa Broadbent, and one that I did not want to finish reading, to one of my favorites, to almost my literal favorite in the whole series? Hey everyone, and welcome to another video. So it's pretty obvious by now that I'm going to be reviewing The Songbird and the Heart of Stone by Carissa Broadbent. It's part of the Crowns of Naxia series. So if you look here, you can see the Crowns of Naxia series. Book 1 is The Serpent and the Wings of Night. Book 2 is The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King. Six Scorched Roses is a novella in between the two. So what the Crowns of Naxia series is a series, it's a romantasy series of duologies. So books 1 and 2 is about one couple, books 3 and 4 is about another couple, and then 5 and 6 is going to be about a different couple. So this is book 3. So the plot line, it like chronologically follows the same, like a singular timeline kind of thing. Not really in the book because we do flashback and stuff. I'm explaining this very badly. What I'm saying is the books kind of move on, but this is about a different character. So number 1, when I first started reading this earlier this year, I was coming off of The Serpent and the Wings of Night, Ashes and the Star-Cursed King, and the couple from that book, which is Rain and Aurea. I love Rain and Aurea. They are my favorite couple. Rain is one of my favorite male characters of all time. Aurea is actually really amazing, and honestly, Carissa Broadbent is really, really skilled at writing strong female characters done right, without like demeaning the male characters or anything like that. One of the side characters in that series, by the way, spoiler alerts for the series because this is book 3, so if you don't want spoilers, then probably should click away. Anyways, one of the side characters in that one is Rain, the male love interest in that one. His best friend is named Misha. I called her Mish this whole time until this book taught me how to pronounce her name. So it's Misha. So she's a side character, and she was like, okay, and I really love her friendship with Rain in the 2 books. But in this one, she's now the main girl, and that kind of threw me for a loop. I knew it was going to be about a different couple, but I just, at the time, did not see Misha as main character potential. She was side character. And then I like her as Rain's friend. I didn't really, when I first started reading this, I wasn't fond of her as a main character, POV character, so this is from her perspective. Secondly, and the biggest issue that I had with this, other than the minor issue of missing Rain and Aurea, was that this kind of involves a journey to the underworld, and there was like necromancy and kind of death magic and stuff. No problem if any, like, I'm not going to judge anybody if they like that kind of stuff. It's just not my thing. As a Christian in particular, like, Christians can enjoy this kind of stuff, I guess, but just for me personally, it's not my thing. Everybody has their own little things that they like or dislike that they feel like they should stay away from, and in this particular, like, it's just, I've never been fond of like underworld death necromancy type of stuff. It's just never been my thing. So when I got to that scene, I quit, and I DNF'd this book. And then my cousin and I, she wanted, the book 4 came out this month, either August, September, but it came out. And she wanted to read it, but she'd forgotten book 3. So she wanted to do a reread of it. And so we had this idea that if I read this for the first time at the same time she's doing her reread of it, then I would get into it and more than likely finish it. And she was right. So, but when I started this book, I have come off of the Throne of Glass series by Sarah J. Maas. So I've been reading that series since May. And so I had a lot of time and distance, 1, to let go of Rain and Aurea, which was fine, kind of a minor issue. 2, to like see Misha with fresh eyes. Number 3, and the biggest thing that actually helped this book, was the fact that Sarah J. Maas was driving me crazy with the feminism. Most of the female characters in that series, they're toward the latter part of it, Empire of Storms in particular and Kingdom of Ash, in order to make the female characters in that series, in those particular books of that series, strong girl bosses, all the guys are demeaned, and I was so sick of it. And so when I started rereading this one for the first time and then got past, I think it was on page 50 or something like that, the first time I quit. So when I got past that, it was a breath of fresh air, because Carissa Broadbent does strong female characters done right, where they don't necessarily have to be physically strong or masculine, and the men don't have to be demeaned in order for the girl to shine. In fact, the male characters in her books, and especially Asar, the guy character in this book, really shines because he has his own power and he gets to do all of this epic stuff. Like in that one, it's almost like Sarah J. Maas in Empire of Storms and Kingdom of Ash. The guys could not do anything epic because the girls had to be the ones to do it all. And in this one, she doesn't shy away from the guys getting to be epic, have epic magic, do epic things, be the leaders in some cases, and actually be the only reason why they're able to make this journey is because of Asar. So at the same time, Misha is a very strong female character. So essentially it felt like a breath of fresh air, and that actually really helped me see this in a new light. Still not fond of necromancy and the underworld stuff. The necromancy didn't last for long, and the journey to the underworld was kind of creative. It reminded me a lot of the Scorpion King too, and it has a lot of like Greek god vibes, because there's the pantheon of gods and stuff like that in this series. And I actually really loved the lore in The Serpent and the Wings of Night and the Ashes and the Star-Cursed King, the first two books, because there was a lot of lore with one of the goddesses, Naxia, and her story and her lover story. I can never remember his name. I think it's Alaris, but I don't want to be wrong because there's another bad god with an A name and it's too close and I get the two mixed up. Anyways, Naxia and her lover have this amazing, heart-wrenching, tragic story. It's like a Greek tragedy, essentially. And I really, reading it in the first two books, hearing the legends of it, it made me want Carissa Broadbent to do like a novella about them and their story. And so in this one, it's like the legends comes to life, because that's the whole point of this book, is to do with Naxia and her lover and going to the underworld to like free her lover and that sort of, not free, but bring him back to life essentially. So, and ironically, because Misha used to be a priestess of the sun god, and so it's got all these gods and goddesses, and I'm not normally comfortable with that, but it feels so legendary. It's taking more from Greek mythology than mocking Christianity. For example, if something mocks Christianity, I can't get over that. I will never be able to get past that in a movie, book, show, anything. This is like really Greek mythology heavy, so if that's your kind of vibe, you may like it. But so anyway, she was a priestess for the sun god until she became a vampire. Obviously that's taboo, so now her whole wrestling thing is feeling like she's failed the god that she once served. And there's some parts of this where her devotion to him kind of reminds me of like how much we love God and stuff like that. And like it really shines a light. Like when I'm reading this with the knowledge of being a Christian, it reminds me that we can't earn our salvation, and like we get our salvation through God. That is not at all what this is talking about, but it just, my brain goes there because that's, because that's what I believe and stuff. So I'm really glad I read this book, because I missed out so much. Like I would have missed out so much by not reading it because of Asar and Asar and Misha's romance is so good, and Asar is literally one of my favorite male characters of all time in all of the romantasy books that I've read. His story is so intriguing, and Carissa Broadbent does this thing where, like, first of all, the book is divided into parts, and in this book she does that with the other ones, and in this one each part is a different sanctum as they travel deeper toward the underworld, and they have to do a certain thing at each sanctum. I won't spoil that for you guys. So each part is a new sanctum, and each sanctum has this thing that they have to do that's really dramatic. It's super action-packed, and it's really hard to put down because there's just stuff keeps happening, and there's enough slow parts to like give you a breath of fresh air and move the characters and their arcs forward, but it's just like really, really good pacing. So she divides it into parts, and in all of her books, between each part is an interlude where she gives us a flashback of the main character. So the first book, The Serpent and the Wings of Night, did flashbacks only about the main girl, Aurea. This one only does flashbacks about the main girl, Misha. Book 2, Ashes and the Star-Cursed King, added Rain, the male character, his POVs, and so the interludes sometimes did him, and I was so excited about that because we got his full backstory. So that's what I'm looking forward to with book 4, is adding Asar and his potential interludes. But in this one, we got Misha's backstory, which was really creative and fun, and a lot of like what happened during her time as a priestess, which there was a lot of twist in there that I didn't see coming, that was really creative, and her best friend, and like, all of the interludes in this one was like so relevant to the plot where they were. It was just like really, really good writing. Also, I've said this before and I'll say it again, Carissa Broadbent is like a master writer, and like I strive to be the kind of writer that she is in terms of the way that she puts words and prose together. She's just so good at like her word choices, the sentence structure, and like the writing aspect of it, and it's so fun. And so this is literally one of my favorites in the whole series. I feel like it kind of escalates things, and Misha and Asar like have such a emotional connection and friendship that's built. There's very little spice in it until like the very, very end, and it feels kind of earned, and I did skip that scene. But this kind of beginning parts of it where they were kissing and stuff felt kind of earned, because they have spent this whole book going through this whole big journey together, getting to know one another, building a friendship, building an emotional connection. And you find that like it's so rare in romanticies to actually have that emotional connection between the main characters. So it was really refreshing in that aspect. So some parts of me was a little concerned. I don't think she wrote some parts of this like with the corruption. Let me rephrase this. Spoiler alerts for this book, by the way. But there were some parts of Misha's history with the sun god that she worships that seems like he's really toxic. And it reminded me of a toxic marriage between a husband and a wife, but just like priestess to god type corruption type stuff, toxic stuff. And I don't think that she did it with the intention of like, oh, religion is bad and this is what religion does to you and look at what religion does. But there are sometimes I got that vibe, but I don't think that she did that intentionally. I hope she didn't do that intentionally, because that's not, basically what I'm trying to say is I love her books and I love her as a writer, so I hope that her main theme in this book was not intentionally religion is bad, essentially. Something I might have to talk to my cousin about a little bit, but it does tie into the lore. I think what helps in this case is that's not the main thing, because it ties into all of the lore, and she's already has this lore established with like these really, they're not really gods in the sense that like, because they can still die, and they're like beings with a lot of power, but like compared to like everybody else, they're pretty godlike basically in that sense. And again, it's very Greek mythology type stuff, because there's this whole pantheon, and part of me really does find that fascinating and everything, like, and it's just really creative and stuff. There was definitely some twists. There was one twist in the middle where something happens. There was one twist in the middle where something happens that shocks all of them, and the thing is, it's something that had to have happened back like in the real world, and they're down here in this path leading to the underworld, so it's shocking the way that they find out how it happened, and then the end result of that is a betrayal, and I did not see that coming, so that was shocking. There was another side character in this one that had a bit of an ending, we'll just say, and I did not expect that to coming. I did actually call almost every single part of the ending of this, but I wanted that to happen, and it was written and executed so wonderfully. I was getting feels the whole time. It was so intense. It was like one thing after another, and I was like reading so much tonight to just, it's just so exciting. Like I just wanted to read and see what was going to happen next. Like I could not put it down. Misha and Asar are one of my favorite couples of all time, and it's such a good book. I really genuinely loved it. I was so glad, because I actually could have finished this book several days ago, and I knew my cousin had warned me that there was a bit of a cliffhanger, and so I was really glad that I slowed. I purposefully didn't finish it until I knew for a fact that we could afford to get me book 4. So I'm happy that I have book 4, and I will definitely be starting that one next. So that's Misha and Asar's continuation. So this is book 4. And another thing that I like, I just gotta say, are the covers and the interior formatting. And I really like, because they're a series of romantasy duologies that, let me see if I can do this here. Books 1 and 2. Oh my gosh, book 1 is a paperback, not a hardback. Anyways, this is about Rain and Araya, one couple, and so the colors are silver and blue and green and stuff like that, so you can tell this is about a different couple. And then when you get to books 3 and 4, they're about Misha and Asar, a different couple, so it's now silver and red and gold. And so I'm assuming books 5 and 6 will have a different color scheme, so that's going to be fun. overall 5-star read. It was really honestly one of my favorites of this series, and definitely one of my favorite romanticies of all time. It is so good, and her pacing was really good. The writing was really good. There was a lot of good quotes. There was a lot of good twists and turns that I didn't see coming. The ending was very like boss fight-ish without an actual boss fight, but just overwhelming and things you don't see coming and twists and turns. Even with things that I did halfway predict, there were still things that I did not see coming. I love the lore. The characters are really good. The character arcs, both with Misha and Asar, are still really powerful. And I love the way that she releases a little bit of information, like Misha getting to know Asar, but there's still so much about him that we don't know. And that's what she did with book 1, The Serpent and the Wings of Night, with giving us just little bits of Rain, and we learned so much about him in Ashes and the Star-Cursed King. And Misha's journey basically reminds me, like, overall, you know how I was like worried that like religion's bad. That's not the theme. When you think about it deeply, it's like, it reminds me honestly of a toxic marriage and a woman being stuck in there hoping that the man's going to change, and like, okay, after this thing he's going to get better and things are going to be fine. And in this case, it's like, it really has the theme of that blind devotion to that toxic person, or husband in this case, like that blind devotion, because you just don't want to admit to yourself how bad that person is for you. And it's a really powerful theme when you think about it, because there's a lot of people who get trapped in bad relationships and bad marriages and stuff, and I think this is a really good deals with that kind of theme on it. And like I said, she does really strong female characters so well, because nobody has to be demeaned in order for the female characters to be a boss lady alongside her man, who also gets to do his own thing. And what I love also in the twists and turns is that due to the circumstances that they're in, the main girl will have her own, like in this case, Misha had her mission and her plans, Asar had his, and they kind of clash with each other, and you think it's going to happen one way and it happens something differently. And so it's just really, at the same time that they're in love and they're both trying to help each other and save each other, and it's just like, it's so fun. And it really leaves things in a really, like, both characters are physically in interesting places to be in for the next book, but emotionally, in their relationship and in their character arcs. And Asar in particular, and I think Misha, because Misha's a bit of a mystery, but with Asar, we know for a fact that he just gained something major that I won't talk about because I don't want to spoil that for you, because that's the very, very end. He gained something that was like crazy, like, so essentially the characters are in this intense place, and it really sets the road for the next book. And if you noticed, it's considerably bigger than the other ones in the series, so that makes me interested. Overall, 5-star read. I really loved it. Like I said, there is a spicy scene at the end. I skipped it. It's very skippable and everything. So if you have read this book and the series, what do you think of it? Let me know in the comments below. And what do you think of the series overall? And so far, between this one and the first two, which one has been your favorite? I'd love to hear that. If you liked this video, please be sure to give it a like and subscribe for more writing and reading videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. In the meantime, if you like my review of the Songbird and the Heart of Stone, then check out my review of Quicksilver. It was actually a romantasy that I really, really enjoyed as well, and had kind of a new favorite characters and new favorite romantasies and stuff with it. So check that out. You don't want to miss it. It'll be here.